Water cascaded from beneath Zachariah's kitchen sink with such force that it seemed like her Manhattan penthouse was determined to create its own indoor waterfall. She paced frantically across the Italian marble floor, designer heels splashing through puddles as she held her phone to her ear. "What do you mean you can't send anyone until tomorrow? This is an emergency." Winter ran her free hand through her long, dark hair, exasperation clear in her voice. "Fine. Yes, I understand you're busy. Just send someone as soon as possible." She ended the call and tossed her phone onto the counter with a groan. At 34, Winter had built one of the most successful tech companies in the country, revolutionized 3 different industries, and graced the cover of Forbes twice, yet here she was, defeated by plumbing. The irony wasn't lost on her. Winter glanced at her watch, a vintage Patek Philippe that had cost more than most cars, and sighed. She had a board meeting in 2 hours that she couldn't miss. The expanding puddle on her floor wouldn't fix itself. With determination, she pulled up her phone's search app and typed, "Emergency plumber Upper East Side." She called the first result. "Miracle Repairs, this is Isaac speaking. How can I help you today?" "My kitchen is flooding and I need someone immediately," Winter said, her tone softening at the warm, steady voice on the other end. "I understand, madam. I can be there in 30 minutes. What's the address?" Winter hesitated. Normally, she'd have her assistant vet any service provider thoroughly before allowing them into her home. But water was now seeping into her living room, threatening her rare Persian rug. 1721 Park Avenue, Penthouse A, she said finally. "I'll be there as soon as I can," Isaac promised. True to his word, exactly 28 minutes later, Winter's doorman called to announce the arrival of a plumber. When she opened her door, she found herself face to face with a man who looked nothing like the plumbers in TV commercials. Isaac Miller stood just over 6 feet tall with broad shoulders and warm brown eyes that crinkled slightly at the corners. He wore simple work clothes jeans and a navy blue t-shirt with "Miracle Repairs" embroidered on the pocket. A tool belt hung low on his hips, and he carried a heavy-looking toolbox in one hand. "Miss Zachariah?" he asked, his voice matching the one from the phone. "Yes, thank you for coming so quickly," Winter replied, stepping aside to let him in. She watched as he took in the penthouse with a quick, professional glance, not lingering on the obvious signs of wealth, the original artwork, the designer furniture, the floor-to-ceiling windows with their panoramic view of Central Park. "The kitchen's this way," she said, leading him through the living room. "Dad," a small voice called from behind him, making Winter turn in surprise. A little girl, perhaps 6 or 7 years old, peeked around Isaac's legs. She had her father's warm brown eyes and a bright yellow backpack nearly as big as she was. "I'm so sorry," Isaac said quickly. "My babysitter canceled last minute and I couldn't find a replacement. This is my daughter, Lily. Lily, say hello to Miss Zachariah." "Hello," the little girl said shyly. "Your house is like a castle." Winter couldn't help but smile. "Thank you, Lily. It does feel that way sometimes." She turned to Isaac. "It's not a problem. She can sit in the living room while you work. There's a TV, and I think I might even have some cookies somewhere." Isaac's shoulders relaxed slightly. "That's very kind of you." "Dad fixes everything," Lily announced proudly as they walked toward the kitchen. "He's the best fixer in the whole wide world." "Is that so?" Winter asked, amused by the child's confidence. "Lily exaggerates," Isaac said with a modest smile. "But I do my best." The kitchen was now thoroughly flooded, water still gushing from beneath the sink. Isaac immediately set down his toolbox and knelt to examine the situation, seemingly unbothered by the water soaking into his jeans. "I need to turn off the water supply first," he said, opening the cabinet under the sink. "Do you know where the shut-off valve is?" Winter shook her head. "I have no idea. I've only lived here for a year and I've never had plumbing issues before." Isaac nodded. "Not to worry, I'll find it." While he worked, Winter set up Lily in the living room with the TV remote and a plate of imported chocolate cookies she'd found in her pantry. The little girl seemed content, carefully arranging her cookies in a perfect circle before taking a small, deliberate bite of one. "Your dad seems very good at his job," Winter said, sitting on the edge of the sofa beside her. Lily nodded solemnly. "He fixes everyone's houses. Sometimes he works very late, but he always comes to kiss me goodnight, even when I'm sleeping." Something about the simple statement touched Winter. "That's very special. Mommy lives in heaven now," Lily continued matter-of-factly, picking up another cookie, "but Dad says she watches over us like the stars." Winter felt her heart constrict. "I'm sure she does," she said softly. By the time she returned to the kitchen, Isaac had already shut off the water and was lying on his back beneath the sink, only his legs visible. "The good news is it's just a burst pipe," his voice echoed from inside the cabinet. "The bad news is that it's done some damage. Your sink's disposal unit is completely waterlogged. I'll need to replace it along with the damaged section of pipe." "Whatever needs to be done," Winter said, checking her watch anxiously. "I have a meeting I can't miss in just over an hour now." Isaac slid out from under the sink, wiping his hands on a rag. "Don't worry about staying. This will take me a couple of hours at least. If you're comfortable with it, Lily and I can stay here while I fix everything. I'll make sure to lock up properly when we leave." Winter hesitated. She never left strangers in her home, but there was something trustworthy about Isaac Miller. Maybe it was the way he'd immediately gotten to work without comment about the obviously expensive surroundings, or how gently he spoke to his daughter, or simply the honest look in his eyes. "That would be perfect, actually," she decided. "I'll leave my cell number. Please call if you need anything." Isaac nodded. "Of course, and don't worry about the flood. I'll clean everything up before I go." Winter quickly changed into a business suit, grabbed her briefcase, and scribbled her private number on a notepad. As she was about to leave, she found Lily standing in the hallway, holding a drawing. "I made this for you," the little girl said, handing her a crayon picture of what appeared to be a woman with very long black hair standing next to a large blue square. "Is that me?" Winter asked, genuinely touched. Lily nodded. "That's you, and that's your swimming pool kitchen." Winter laughed her first genuine laugh in what felt like weeks. "It does look like a swimming pool right now, doesn't it? Thank you, Lily. I'll keep this." As she walked into her board meeting 40 minutes later, Winter realized she was still smiling, the child's drawing safely tucked into her portfolio. The meeting dragged on for over 3 hours. When it finally ended, Winter checked her phone and found no messages from Isaac. She assumed he had finished the repair and left, but when she arrived home, she was surprised to find both Isaac and Lily still there. The kitchen was spotless, not just repaired but gleaming. The floor had been mopped dry, the counters wiped down, and even the dishes she'd left in the sink that morning had been washed and put away. Isaac was sitting at her kitchen island, helping Lily with what looked like homework. They both looked up when she entered. "I'm so sorry," Isaac said, standing quickly. "The job was more complicated than I expected. The pipe damage extended further than I initially thought, and I had to replace more sections. Then I wanted to make sure everything was properly cleaned up." "It looks amazing," Winter said, glancing around in astonishment. "Did you actually clean my entire kitchen?" Isaac shrugged, a slight blush coloring his cheeks. "Water damage can be tricky. I wanted to make sure everything was thoroughly dried to prevent any mold issues later." "Dad says we should always leave places better than we found them," Lily piped up, carefully printing letters on her worksheet. "That's a wonderful rule," Winter said, setting down her briefcase. "Have you two eaten? It's past dinner time." "We had snacks," Isaac said. "We were just about to head out. I've left the invoice on the counter, but there's no rush to pay it." Winter glanced at the single sheet of paper. The amount was reasonable, far less than she'd expected for an emergency call, replacement parts, and the evident care he'd taken with the cleanup. "I insist on paying you now," she said, reaching for her purse. "And actually, I was about to order dinner. Would you and Lily like to stay, as a thank you for saving my kitchen and probably the floor below?" Isaac hesitated, looking at his daughter. What do you think, Lillipad? Are you hungry for real food? The little girl nodded enthusiastically. Can we stay, please? I want to see if Miss Zachariah has a princess bedroom. Isaac laughed, his face lighting up in a way that made Winter's heart skip. I don't think we should explore Miss Zachariah's private rooms, honey. Please call me Winter, she said, surprising herself with the invitation to informality. And I'll have you know, Lily, that my bedroom is definitely not princess-themed. It's more cloud-themed, I suppose. Clouds? Lily's eyes widened, like sleeping in the sky. Something like that, Winter smiled. Now, what would you like for dinner? I have every restaurant in Manhattan on speed dial. They ended up ordering from a nearby Italian place, Isaac insisting on a family-style restaurant rather than the Michelin-starred establishment Winter had suggested. As they ate pasta and garlic bread at her rarely used dining table, Winter found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't in years. Isaac, she learned, had been running his own repair business for 5 years, ever since his wife died of cancer and he needed a flexible schedule for Lily. Before that, he'd been a construction foreman, but the hours had been too demanding for a single parent. So you basically rebuilt your entire career around being there for her, Winter said softly, watching as Lily carefully twirled spaghetti around her fork. Isaac nodded. It wasn't really a choice. She needed me, and I needed to be there for her. That's admirable, Winter said sincerely. Most people wouldn't have made that sacrifice. Isaac looked at her curiously. What about you? Do you have family nearby? Winter shook her head. My parents are in California. They're both professors philosophy and physics, respectively. They've never quite understood my fascination with the business world. What she didn't say was that her fascination with the business world had resulted in a technology platform now valued at over $2 billion. Something held her back from mentioning that part. After dinner, Lily began to yawn, her small face growing tired. We should get going, Isaac said, helping his daughter pack up her crayons and worksheets. It's past someone's bedtime. Thank you again for the emergency rescue, Winter said, walking them to the door, and for staying for dinner. It was. She paused, realizing the truth of what she was about to say. It was the most enjoyable evening I've had in a long time. Isaac smiled, and Winter noticed a dimple in his left cheek that hadn't been visible before. Thank you for being so understanding about Lily and for the dinner. It was our pleasure. As they stepped into the hallway, Winter had a sudden impulse. If you ever need a reference for your work, please feel free to use my name. You did an exceptional job. That's very kind, Isaac replied. Thank you. After they left, Winter walked slowly through her quiet penthouse. It felt emptier somehow, the silence more pronounced than usual. She picked up Lily's drawing from where she'd left it on the coffee table and smiled, deciding to pin it to her refrigerator, something she'd never done before. 3 days later, Winter found herself thinking about Isaac and Lily as she sat through another tedious meeting. She wondered how they were doing, whether Isaac had found more repair jobs, whether Lily was enjoying school. It was strange to be so preoccupied with people she'd only met once. When her assistant brought in a package that afternoon, Winter was surprised to find a small, carefully wrapped gift inside. It contained a children's book titled The Princess Who Lived in the Clouds and a handwritten note. Winter, Lily insisted we find this book for you after hearing about your cloud bedroom. Thank you again for your kindness. Isaac and Lily, Winter traced her fingers over the looping handwriting, smiling at the thoughtful gesture. On impulse, she picked up her phone and called the number on the invoice he'd left. Miracle Repairs, this is Isaac speaking. Isaac, it's Winter Zachariah. I got your package, that was incredibly sweet. Oh, he sounded genuinely pleased. It was Lily's idea. She saw it in the bookstore window and insisted it was meant for you. Please thank her for me. It's perfect. Winter paused, gathering her courage. Actually, I was wondering if the two of you might like to come to the Central Park Zoo this weekend. Lily mentioned she loves animals, and I have some VIP passes that include a behind-the-scenes penguin encounter." There was a moment of silence, and Winter immediately regretted the invitation. Of course he wouldn't want to spend his weekend with a client. It was inappropriate and presumptuous. "That sounds wonderful," Isaac said finally, his voice warm. "Lily would be thrilled. Are you sure we wouldn't be imposing on your weekend?" "Not at all," Winter said, relief flooding through her. "I'd love the company. My Saturdays usually involve working from home or attending charity functions that I'd rather skip." They arranged to meet at the zoo entrance at 10 on Saturday morning. After hanging up, Winter sat at her desk, wondering what had possessed her to make such an invitation. She didn't do casual social outings, especially not with men she barely knew and their young children. Her dating life had been limited to carefully vetted eligible bachelors, usually CEOs or financial executives, and always without children. Yet she found herself looking forward to Saturday with an eagerness that surprised her. The day dawned bright and clear, perfect zoo weather. Winter dressed carefully in dark jeans, comfortable flats, and a simple blouse, trying to look appropriate for both a children's outing and... Was this a date? She wasn't sure. Lily spotted her first, waving enthusiastically from beside the entrance. "Winter, we're here. Dad got me a balloon." Indeed, Isaac was holding a blue elephant-shaped balloon, looking slightly embarrassed as Winter approached. He was dressed in jeans and a light blue button-down shirt that brought out the warmth in his eyes. Without his tool belt and work clothes, he looked different, more relaxed, but somehow even more handsome. "Sorry about the balloon," he said with a rueful smile. The vendor was very persuasive. "I love elephants," Winter replied, smiling at Lily. "Good choice." The day unfolded with unexpected joy. Lily's excitement was contagious as they visited each exhibit, her questions endless, and her observations often surprisingly insightful for a 7-year-old. Isaac was attentive and knowledgeable, explaining animal facts to his daughter with patience and enthusiasm. Winter found herself watching their interactions with growing admiration. Isaac was the kind of father she'd never known existed outside of television shows. Present, engaged, and clearly devoted. During the penguin encounter, as Lily gently stroked a penguin's feathers under the keeper's supervision, Isaac turned to Winter with a soft smile. "Thank you for this," he said quietly. "She's been looking forward to it all week." "I'm the one who should be thanking you," Winter replied honestly. "I can't remember the last time I did something this fun." Isaac studied her face for a moment. "You work too hard," he said, not as a criticism but as a simple observation. Winter laughed softly. "Says the single dad who runs his own business." "Fair point," he conceded with a grin, "but I make time for the important things." As they walked through the park afterward, Lily running ahead to examine flowers and squirrels, Isaac gradually opened up about his late wife, Marie. They'd been high school sweethearts who married young, had Lily in their mid-20s, and then faced Marie's devastating cancer diagnosis just after Lily's 3rd birthday. "She fought so hard," Isaac said, his voice steady but tinged with old grief. "For 2 years she battled, determined to see Lily start kindergarten. She missed it by 4 months. "I'm so sorry," Winter said, wishing she had better words to offer. "It's been 2 years now," Isaac continued. "The first year was about survival, just getting through each day, making sure Lily was okay. This past year has been about learning to live again, not just survive." Winter thought about her own life, successful by most standards, filled with achievements and accolades, yet somehow lacking the depth of experience Isaac described. "You're doing an amazing job with her," she said sincerely. "She's wonderful." Isaac's smile was grateful. "What about you?" "Have you always been focused on your career?" Winter hesitated, unsure how much to share. "I've always been driven," she said carefully. "My company has been my primary focus for the past decade." "What kind of company?" Isaac asked, seeming genuinely interested. Winter took a deep breath. "I founded Zach Tech when I was 24. We started as a small software development firm, but now we specialize in security systems and data protection for major corporations. Isaac's eyebrows rose slightly. Zach Tech. Wait, that's the company that developed that banking security system that was in the news last year. The one that stopped that massive hacking attempt on the Federal Reserve. Winter nodded, waiting for his expression to change for the awe or intimidation that usually followed when people realized exactly who she was and what she was worth. Instead, Isaac simply nodded thoughtfully. "That explains the penthouse," he said with a small smile. "And why you didn't blink at the repair bill." Winter laughed, relief washing over her. "Is that all you have to say?" "What would you like me to say?" he asked, his eyes twinkling. "Should I be impressed? I am, but not because of your bank account. I'm impressed because you created something valuable that protects people. That's worth being proud of." Before she could respond, Lily came running back, a dandelion clutched in her hand. "Dad, Winter, look what I found. If you blow on it and make a wish, it comes true." Isaac knelt down to his daughter's level. "That's right, Lillipad. Do you want to make a wish?" Lily nodded solemnly, then closed her eyes tight and blew on the dandelion, sending its seeds floating into the air. "I wished for don't tell us," Isaac interrupted gently. "If you tell a wish, it won't come true." "Oh," Lily's eyes widened. "I forgot. It's a secret wish now." Winter watched the dandelion seeds scatter in the breeze, some catching in Isaac's dark hair. Without thinking, she reached out to brush them away, her fingers lightly touching his temple. Their eyes met, and something electric passed between them. "Your turn," Lily announced, holding out another dandelion to Winter. Winter hesitated, then took the delicate flower. She couldn't remember the last time she'd made a wish on anything, let alone a dandelion. Feeling slightly foolish but strangely moved, she closed her eyes, thought of a wish, and blew gently. When she opened her eyes, Isaac was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite decipher. "Did you make a good wish?" he asked softly. "I think so," she replied, her voice equally quiet. After that day, something shifted between them. Winter found reasons to call Isaac a wobbly cabinet that needed fixing, a question about her home security system, an invitation to bring Lily to a children's theater performance for which she'd accidentally purchased an extra ticket. Isaac, in turn, began texting her random thoughts during the day, a funny sign he'd seen while on a job, a book recommendation, a picture of Lily's latest art project. Each message made Winter smile, even during her most stressful meetings. They fell into a rhythm of weekend outings and occasional weeknight dinners at Winter's penthouse, where Isaac would cook while Winter helped Lily with her homework. It felt natural, comfortable, and yet thrilling in a way Winter had never experienced. One evening, about 2 months after the leak that had brought them together, Winter invited Isaac and Lily for dinner. Lily had fallen asleep on the couch after the meal, worn out from an exciting day at school where she'd been the line leader and had helped rescue a caterpillar from the playground. Isaac and Winter sat on the balcony, watching the city lights twinkle below them. A comfortable silence stretched between them until Isaac finally spoke. "I need to ask you something," he said, his voice serious. Winter felt her heart quicken. "What is it?" "What are we doing here, Winter?" he asked gently. "These past weeks have been wonderful, but I need to know what this means to you." Winter looked out at the skyline, gathering her thoughts. "I've been asking myself the same question," she admitted. "I've never done this before, whatever this is. My relationships have always been convenient, predictable, and ultimately unsatisfying. This is different." "Different how?" Isaac prompted. "Different because it feels real," Winter said, turning to face him. "Being with you and Lily has shown me what I've been missing. When I'm with you, I'm not the CEO or the billionaire or the woman on the magazine cover. I'm just Winter, and that's enough." Isaac's expression softened. "You've always been enough, Winter. Your success is part of who you are, but it's not what makes you special." "What makes me special, then?" she asked, half joking but genuinely curious. "The way you listen to Lily's stories as if they're the most important things you've ever heard," Isaac said without hesitation. "The way you work so hard because you truly believe in what you're building. The fact that you keep that silly drawing Lily made on your refrigerator. The way you never make me feel less than you, despite the obvious differences in our circumstances." Winter felt tears spring to her eyes. "I'm falling in love with you," she whispered, the words escaping before she could stop them. "With both of you, actually, and it terrifies me." Isaac reached for her hand, his fingers warm and strong as they entwined with hers. "Why does it terrify you?" "Because I could lose you," she said honestly. "Because I don't know how to be what Lily needs. Because my life is complicated and public, and I don't want that to hurt either of you." Isaac brought her hand to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles. "I fell in love with you somewhere between fixing your sink and watching you help Lily feed the sea lions," he confessed. "And for what it's worth, you're already exactly what Lily needs: someone who sees her, respects her, and cares about her. The rest we can figure out together." Winter leaned forward, bridging the gap between them. Their first kiss was gentle, a question and an answer all at once. When they parted, Winter felt as though something fundamental had shifted inside her, as if pieces of herself that had long been adrift had finally found their home. "Dad." Lily's sleepy voice came from the doorway. "Is it time to go home?" Isaac turned, still holding Winter's hand. "Actually, honey, I was thinking maybe we could stay a little longer." Lily rubbed her eyes, nodding. "Okay, can I sleep in the cloud bedroom?" Winter laughed, the sound bright in the night air. "How about the guest room tonight? It has stars on the ceiling that glow in the dark." "Stars?" Lily perked up immediately. "Like Mom?" Isaac's eyes met Winter's, a question in them. Winter nodded slightly, understanding what he was asking. "Yes, Lilipad," he said gently. "Like Mom, and I think she'd be very happy that we found Winter, don't you?" Lily considered this, her small face serious. "Mom told me to find happiness," she said finally, "in my secret heart, and Winter makes us happy, right, Dad?" "She does," Isaac agreed, his voice thick with emotion. "Then Mom would be super happy," Lily declared with the simple certainty of childhood. She walked over and took Winter's free hand. "Can you show me the star room now? I'm really tired." As Winter led Lily to the guest bedroom, helping her brush her teeth with a spare toothbrush and tucking her into bed beneath the glow in the dark stars, she felt a sense of rightness that transcended anything she'd experienced in her professional successes. When she returned to the balcony, Isaac was looking out at the city, his profile outlined against the night sky. "She fell asleep almost instantly," Winter said, slipping her arms around his waist from behind. Isaac turned in her embrace, pulling her close. "Thank you," he said simply. "For what?" "For making room for us in your life. I know it's not what you planned." Winter smiled up at him. "The best things rarely are." 6 months later, Winter's penthouse had transformed. Lily's artwork decorated the refrigerator and walls. A child-sized desk had been installed in the corner of the home office, and family photos mingled with the expensive art. Isaac had moved in 3 months after that first kiss, bringing warmth and laughter to spaces that had once felt more like a showcase than a home. Winter had adjusted her work schedule, making time for school pickups and family dinners. She'd introduced Isaac and Lily to her parents, who had flown in from California and immediately fallen in love with both of them. Even her board of directors had accepted her more balanced approach to work, especially when they saw how the renewed perspective enhanced her decision-making. On a crisp autumn evening, Isaac called Winter to the balcony where their relationship had truly begun. Lily stood beside him, bouncing with barely contained excitement. "What's going on?" Winter asked, looking between their suspiciously innocent faces. "We have something to ask you," Isaac said, taking her hand. He nodded to Lily, who stepped forward with a small velvet box. "Winter, will you marry my dad and be my forever mom?" Lily asked, opening the box to reveal a stunning sapphire ring. Winter gasped, tears immediately filling her eyes. She knelt to Lily's level first, pulling the little girl into a tight hug. "Nothing would make me happier than being your forever mom," she whispered. Then she stood to face Isaac, who was watching them with love evident in his eyes. "And yes," she said, her voice steady despite her tears, "I will absolutely marry you." As Isaac slipped the ring onto her finger, Winter thought about the leaking faucet that had started it all. Who could have imagined that a simple plumbing emergency would lead to the family she'd never known she wanted? "You know," she said as Isaac pulled her close, "I'm thinking of sending a thank you note to my kitchen sink." Isaac laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest. "Maybe we should name our next child after it." "Next child?" Winter raised an eyebrow, smiling. "Too soon?" he asked, his eyes twinkling. Winter looked at Lily, who was admiring how the ring sparkled in the sunset light, then back at Isaac, her unexpected repairman, her partner, her love. "Not too soon at all," she said softly. "Just perfect timing." And as the three of them stood together, silhouetted against the New York skyline, Winter knew that all her success and wealth meant nothing compared to the simple miracle of finding love in the most unexpected flood.